Hello future tech leaders, I'm Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
And today I'm going to cover smaller topics that our configuration topic will be finished today. And there are few topics which are very smaller, like the parameters field validation. I'm trying to cover these two topics and will be finishing the configuration part today. Let's first discuss the topic of field validation. You might have seen multiple places where in the application, right, suppose we are doing something. For example, you are creating a policy or an account. While creating a policy or an account, or while creating a contact. Suppose we are providing an email ID. And there is an email ID, but you have provided some random email ID. Email ID has some syntax, right? You need to give first name, some string, then add the rate and then followed by some string, right? It will have some syntax. If you want to apply the validation on that particular field, like suppose this is the, let me open my one of the account. And I'll go to the summary screen. I'll go to the detail screen where I'll see I don't have email ID here right now. I might have other fields. I can show you other fields which can have the validation. This information driver license for each state. There can be some format for driver license right in US. It has only 8-digit driving license alpha and 8-digit followed by 2 alphanumeric alphabets, right? If we want to have such kind of validation, right, we have to lock them. Either what we can do is we can just go to the PCF file. Let me open the PCF file. And I was on the details screen, right? Let me open the details screen of A, B contact. Let me check for the email ID. This is the email ID. I have email ID, right? Here we come. There are two places where I need to add the validation here, right? First place is, there is one method validation expression. Here I need to specify my validation in this property. I can specify the condition, like if I can specify my validation expression, if an as condition, like suppose here example from we call it validation because we are doing this validation on a particular field in the UI, right? And similarly, we can have this validation in the phone number as well. We can utilize this validation expression property. These are all the field level validations. You could syntax how you have to define the field level validation. You can see here we have added in this example, they have added the validation for date of birth. Once the user put in some date of birth, right? It pops up any message. The date of birth cannot be in the field. How it has implemented it? You can see that inside the validation expression, right? You can put the expression like this. This is your Boolean condition. This is your Boolean condition. Not checking is date of birth is more than the current date or not. Means, is it something which is in future or not? This is a shorthand for writing it if and else. Let me tell you what is the shorthand which you can use here. Let me tell you the shorthand for if and else. In the goes to show, in goes to, if we are not using the shorthand, we'll write if like this. Condition. And then we'll write else. Condition 2. This is the normal way. The condition 1. Some code here. And some code here. Else. Now, if I want to write it in the shorthand, right? I can write it like this. Condition question mark. Forward. If I write it in this format, right? This is equivalent to this. If I want to write some code with very less space, I can utilize this. Similarly, here also, they are using the same thing and just repeat. You can see. This is the condition, question mark. The message that they want to display on the screen if this condition set it right. And if this condition set it right, it means that it will go to the else block. And here it will come, the message which they want to display on the screen, which is none. It doesn't specify, it doesn't want to show the message. This complete condition, they have to write in the validation expression. That's how the validation expression works. And this is the syntax. This is field level validation. But if you want to write, this is an example of field level validation. There is another validation level which we call it as a database level validation or data level validation. What is that? You can see here, if we apply this field level validation to a particular property like main email, right? We are defining it in the validation expression of this part, I mean in the property tab of this main email. The same thing we have to specify here as well, right? As many as the screens, we will get this email ID, right? All the places I have to specify this validation expression. If I want to, I have something wherein if I'm specifying the validation at one place and it will apply to all the places in the guide bar, right? Wherever we are using that field, in that case, we will use the data level validation, not the field level validation. Data level validation means, suppose, let's say, we have an email address, right? We are defining the email address somewhere. Let's suppose say we have the email address and AB company entity. Let me open the AB company entity. And I go for the email. I do not see the email ID here. Let me check the AB contact. For the email ID, I have this email ID here, right? When I'm creating a column for the email ID, I need to specify the column param. And the name of the column param is validator. You know, right? We have to specify the size. We have different column param size. We can define the validator column param and we have to specify the value of the column param. As you can see here, we have defined the value of the column param as email. This must be defined somewhere, right? This must be particular email must be defined somewhere that we can tell it whenever someone is putting up some email ID. Then it will go to this email validator and it will check whether it has that same format, right? There is a file name field validator XML where we have to all define all the field validators. Let's suppose take an example of field validators. You can see the field validator file. If you want to define a validator, right, you can have an entry here. You can define it here. If you want to define it for email, just copy. Paste have it for validator mail. Input mask is something when you will go and when you will check in the screen, right? When you will be on the screen, support the email ID. Input mask is something when you will hover around the field, right? It will give you the syntax that it needs to be provided in this syntax. As you can see, there are 4 here. It is giving me an idea. I need to provide this in this format. 5. In this format, I need to provide the post input. Similarly, I can have this input. Input mask can be named at the right domain, right? When you see how it will look like from the screen, like when you will give the input mask, it will appear something like this. You can see here in the gray area, right? Some hash, these are present, right? If you are providing my input mask like this, it will be shown in the screen like this before entering any data. That user will know before entering the data how he has to post the data. That is defined in the input mask. Then in value we need to provide what is the validation. Let's suppose to take an example of this email validator, right? Or take an example of this. Routing number. Routing number is a field which is of 6 digits, but there is a hyphen in between. First 3 digits, how it is gonna take? First 3 digits. First digit is from 0 to 9. It's an email and it should be from 0 to 9. Second digit should be smaller. Case A to Z, it can be anything. And third digit is larger, case A to Z, anything. This, if something comes apart from this, right, it will throw an error. It will not go further. That's how this entity level validation works. We have to define the validation in the validators file field, validators file, and that particular validation we have to specify in the column path. These are the 2 steps. Let's just call them. You can see after defining it here, there you have defined the column path and the right routing number as a field. Whenever you create, you can see A, B, it has given this A, B, 3 digits B00Z. First digit is the number. It is expecting a number, right? It will throw an error, and this is an automatic error. These are the steps. First step is what they have done is they have created a display key with the error message, then created the field validator, and from the field validator.xmo file, associate that field validator in with the entity field and then deploy the key. These are the steps involved. If we are providing it in the entity right, suppose there is a phone number. If we are suppose, and this phone number is displayed in two screens, in the summary screen and last in the contact screen also. Suppose we want the phone number validation to be triggered only on the summary screen. This is just an example. I'm just giving you an example. Validation to be on the detail screen while providing the value right. This, the steps which I've mentioned you here, right? It's for data level validation only, not the PCF. It's not talking about the PCF anywhere. PCF level, they are not talking here. They're only talking about the just a second. It is. They are talking about the field validator. Because there is a field validator.xml file. I think we've got some sense between field level validation and field level validation. This entire step talks about the data level validation. That's pretty much from the validation side. These are the two places where you have to define it. And also there is one more place. Suppose when you are doing data level validation right. In the field validate.xml file, you are defining the input mask and you are defining this value also. You're defining this value. It means that it is gonna check every time and user is entering something. It is gonna check every time, each and every digit. But the rate is falling, that particular format. Suppose you are not having any validation expression, just you want to have this rejects. It will just check all the 3 digits and all the digits which are presented in this field. That's it. And it will only allow us to go to the next screen or save that. It will allow us to save the data only when it matches. If we want to display a message, then we can have the validation expression that this particular field is not matching what we are giving. We can have this validation expression as well. Got? If you want to show the message, now we are done with this validation thing. And the second thing is script parameters. Have script parameters in place for what are the script parameters? Script parameters are used in Guidewire. If you want to have global variables, script parameters are nothing but global variables. which we can use inside my application anywhere. Either in the PCF file, either in the GoServe classes, anywhere in my PCF file, I can use those variables. If I want to define such kind of variable which are accessible in all the places in the entire studio, I'll define it in the script parameters. How to define a script parameter? There is a script parameter XML file. You can see this is an XML file. All the script parameters are defined here. For each entry, you can see there are many script parameters, right? These are nothing but the global variables. This is a global variable which is of type bit. Bit means boolean, and the default value is true. And these are all the global variables. And what we can do is we can change the very values of the script parameters from UI as well. If you want to change the value of the script parameters, we can do it from the UI. How we can do it, I'll show you. Let's go to the Administration tab. Inside Utilities, I have script parameter. All the script parameters which I've defined in that site will be presented here. Suppose I want to change the value of this script parameter, this global parameter, right? I will mark it as the value is currently yes. I'll mark it as no from here. From here, I can change the value of these global variables that in the application, wherever I am having any condition built on this script parameter, it will behave accordingly. Why are the script parameters are used? XML give you the default value. Suppose if I'm updating something in the XML, right? This is the default value. Default value means whenever I deploy something to my application, my application will start with these values. In real time, from application's perspective, suppose let's say take an example. Some integration is not working. And because of that integration not working in real time, a lot of errors. Because of that integration is not working. The further processes are also not starting because that is a blocker. The client came to me and said that can't we disable that integration? That we don't want. We'll disable that integration right now. And we'll check whether what is the issue that my application won't be stuck in between. What I will do, I'll not do some changes in the AXML and then deploy because it's already in the production, right? What I'll do, the admin will go to the script parameter. I have already defined a script parameter that disable this integration. And wherever I'm calling the integration from the application, right? I've already kept up code that if this integration is this value is true, the script parameter is true, then only send this information or enable this integration, right? If I make the value of the parameter false from the UI, right, that integration would not be triggered again. I do not need to. If I'm changing the value to the UI, I do not need to deploy anything. It can be done from in the runtime during the application runtime also. If I change the values of any of the global parameters at the runtime, then we use skip parameters. But I need to give some default value also, right? That default, I give it to the script parameter .xml file. It can be of any type. Skip parameter can be of any type, as what we have seen in all the primitive data types, right? It can have any types. And it is utilized in a lot of places in these kinds of use cases wherein one integration is not working or one functionality is not working. What we do is, for each functionality, we'll define a script parameter and we'll put that functionality in the if condition that if the script parameter value is true, then only run this functionality. By implementing in this way, what happens, right, if that functionality is not working or integration not working right, we'll just direct both to the script parameter, make the script parameter false, that my if condition would be also be false, right? And it will skip that integration and it will perform the next steps, that it won't be a blocker when the application is in production. That's it for the script parameter side. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.